Hi everybody, Matt Birney or Mike Beer taking a look at the Saturday DRF formulator race of the day. It's the big one at Parx, the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby for 3-year-olds. They're going 1 1/8 on the main track. Let's take a look at the field. If you're following along at home, head on over to the Race of the Day page. Download the free formulator past performances, handicap along with us right in post position order. The number 1, Mike, is Timeline for Chad Brown. He was the favorite come post time for the Grade 1 Haskell Invitational down at Monmouth. And unfortunately for anyone that liked him, he didn't have the cleanest of goes, and I kind of want to forgive him for that.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Initially, I was disappointed in this race there. When I first watched it, yeah, it just sort of felt like I thought he would run better than he did, only beating a couple of horses home in there. In retrospect, when you go back and go through it, I just don't think he got the greatest trip of ride in the world, and I think a lot of that has to do with him. I don't even think it was Castellano's fault. I thought he did a little bit of pulling early in that race, and he sort of forced Castellano to go up and contest the pace in there. And of course, in the Haskell, that's not what you wanted to be doing. I don't think you wanted to be contesting the pace. That was a race that went to closers, and I think this horse paid the price just for not settling early in that race.
Yeah, the pace completely fell apart. And I guess for me too anyway, I don't know if you agree or disagree, I don't think he had any favors done to him by his uncoupled stablemate Practical Joke when he broke in.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of what got this horse lit up, and unfortunately
that's probably right.
It didn't come to hand.
Yeah.
Now the question still remains, is he quite this good? Because he hasn't faced this caliber of horse other than the Haskell.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a fair indication of can he step with these or not.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Haskell, it's not a race that I love overall, but I certainly don't want to hold it against him and any of the horses that were up on the pace in that race. And we've already seen the horse that he was up on the pace with in that race, Battle of Midway, come back. And I know that he was facing a weaker field. But he crushed the field with a 101 buyer in his next start. I'm hoping this horse can sort of rebound out of that race, maybe with a little bit of a more comfortable trip. He at least, if nothing else, he deserves one more shot in a race like this.
The number 2 is Outplay for Todd Pletcher, Rapoli Stables. John Velasquez has them out. This is a horse. He was a pretty convincing victor of the Curlin Stakes, and Todd and company decided to bypass the Travers and point toward this race. I think he's actually kind of a nice little horse. I just don't think he knows what he's doing yet. You watch him, very, very green. And as you had said before we came on, I wonder if it's too much too soon.
Yeah, there are things to like about him. I think he does have a little bit of ability. He's got some speed, too. I guess that could play well in this kind of a race. He's got a win at Parx. I guess if you take that kind of stuff into consideration, it certainly doesn't hurt him, but he's just stepping way up in class, and he's going to have to run better. He ran fine last time in the Curlin. He'll have to run better than that against this field.
Talk about the pace situation. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector here for this race. The pace projector has Timeline from the inside going and Outplay, I should say, sitting just off of him. I wonder if you had brought it up as well. Do you reverse it a little?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see it. I wonder what Castellano will do from Timeline. I think he can come out there looking for the lead in this race. He might. I don't know what they'll do. I would be happy to see Timeline take up a tracking position, but listen, he catches a good break. There's no point in not going on with it.
I wonder if they're going to look at it and say, we don't want to have a repeat of the Haskell. Let's at least find out if his best race is good enough, and generally you're going to see your best race when you're out there on the lead, and if you think that Outplay may be a little bit overmatched right now and outclassed, maybe you just take it to him, know he's going to crack, and then just worry about whoever's coming from the back of the pack afterward. The 3 is Watch Me Whip for Dale Romans, a horse that you and I actually liked a little bit early on this year. And I just don't think he's panned out. Now, they initially had entered him on the turf to run down at Kentucky Downs a few weeks ago, and they scratched him out of that spot. I don't know, man. Boy, we talk about Outplay. Maybe this is too much too soon. I don't think he's ready for this.
I don't either. I like his debut a lot, and I know that his figures have sort of crept forward since then. Still think the debut is the best race he's ever run.
The horse they're all going to have to beat is the number 4 West Coast for Bob Baffert and Mike Smith. He is the victor of the Travers most recently. He is on a 4-race win streak. He's never been out of the exacta from 7 lifetime starts. Highest last out buyer with a 108. Highest last out Timeform US rating with a 132. What's the knock, if there is one?
I don't have one. I mean, I don't even really know what to say about him. To me, he's just way the horse to beat in here. His last 2 races in particular, and I thought his Easy Goer was really good as well at Belmont on the undercard of Belmont Stakes Day. His last 2 races are just great. And I know that, maybe the trip and ride had a lot to do with it last time in the Travers. Smith, I guess he called an audible early and decided to put him on the lead, and it paid off for them. But he ran great in that race, and he beat a solid group of horses there, and he beat them convincingly, and he got a figure for it, and you can ride him however you want to ride him. And it's Baffert and Smith. I could go on and on. He's way the horse to beat.
Now, I know you're not the biggest fan or concern as far as riders are concerned, but with a formulator fact like this, and I know some people, you buy the formulator facts, you don't buy the formulator facts. Past 2 years, winner last out, route graded stake with Mike Smith, with Bob Baffert, 14 for 18 with a 474 ROI, and then you factor in The losses were second, third, and 2 fourth-place finishes. I've never seen a number that comes back 78% with a sample size like that.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. The damage that they've been doing just in general, and graded stakes races in general the last couple of years is out of this world. And they've got another horse here on Saturday who's going to be very tough to beat.
And it's not like it's all Arrowgate. It's a bunch of different horses that go out. It's More Spirit. It's Abel Tasman. It's you name it, they go out and win races. He is obviously the horse to beat in here. Another horse that has just had a really miraculous turnaround, in my opinion, has been IRAP. IRAP earlier this year, we looked at it and said he was the maiden that won the Bluegrass, and it was a complete fluke. Well, the Bluegrass actually has turned out to be a pretty decent race. And this horse, as the time has gone on, he's gotten more and more professional, and he's gotten better and better.
Yeah, he just keeps improving as time goes on. You're right. The Bluegrass, initially, when you watched that race, you just sort of felt like, well, that's an indictment of the 3-year-old crop. This horse just won the Bluegrass. Give me a break. But he's actually come out of that race, and forget about his Kentucky Derby, and he's run one good race after another since then. And you know what? I thought he ran great in the Travers. He was no match for West Coast in that race, but he took a shot at him and made that horse sort of lay it down a little bit. He ran really well last time, this horse.
Do you think the shorter distance is going to help him in this spot?
I do think the 1.1 miles is probably better for him. And listen, that doesn't mean that I think 1.25 miles is too far for him, but I think the 1.8 miles is a better distance for this horse.
The number 6 Talk Logistics coming out of the local prep here for the Pennsylvania Derby. The Smarty Jones, no match for the very impressive Pavel that day, but this is a horse for Eddie Plesa. He just shows up and runs his race. Now the problem is, if you like him, he didn't like to win very often. He's won for 10 lifetime, but he's won at a giant price. Can he sneak into the number underneath?
Yeah, maybe. Listen, I like this horse a lot. I'm a huge fan of his. I don't like this horse as a 2-turn dirt router or as a 1 1/8 horse. I don't like him going this far. Turn this horse back and let him go a 1-turn mile or 7/8, and I'll be all over him.
Maybe we'll get a situation like that down at Gulfstream race, like Gulfstream Park handicap. We'll get to the number 7, Game Over, a horse that, again, you and I liked at one point here for Jorge Navarro. All of the Navarro situation aside, this horse is lightly raced. He's done some good things in a short amount of time. He's another one, though. I wonder, is he really ready for this sort of stage?
Yeah, I don't think he's ready for the Pennsylvania Derby as it came up this year with, West Coast shipping in and maybe a couple other good horses. I still like him as a horse. He's only got 4 starts behind him, and I think he can still improve. I don't think he can improve enough to beat this field, though.
Does the West Virginia Derby as a whole, the way that it's come back, not very good, does that bother you, considering he ran his eyeballs out, he tried, he still wasn't good enough?
Yeah, you know what bothers me more than anything else? Just that I felt like that was a good spot for him to win, to pick up a graded stakes winner, and he just turns out he wasn't quite good enough.
Yeah. The number 8 is Irish War Cry. Irish War Cry might be the most polarizing horse of the 3-year-olds, and that's including the Derby winner that hasn't done much since the Derby, the Preakness winner who was unfortunately injured, but he hasn't done much, and now the also injured Tapwrit, the Belmont winner. Irish War Cry, on his best day, we know what he's capable of. He can run really big races.
It's true.
The problem is, your guess is as good as mine which Irish War Cry we're going to get.
Yeah, his inconsistency is a real problem. Personally, I'm not a big fan of his, and I just feel like I can poke too many holes in him.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons that I don't like him. I suppose, we talked about Timeline a little bit earlier, how, he was sort of in the wrong position in the Haskell up close to the pace. And I suppose the same thing could sort of apply to Irish War Cry because he was up close to the pace too, but I don't think it applies as much. He was sort of more in a tracking trip that I think they wanted him to have in that race. 3 wide, stalking the pace. That's the trip he likes. He got it. He had his shot at it, and he wasn't good enough in there. And, I'm just not a fan. Can he win this race? Yes, he can win this race, but I'm not betting him.
Do you buy this sort of just in-out sort of theory with him?
Yeah, I mean...
Where you get a good race and then a bad one and a good one and a bad one?
That's how it looks on paper. I don't really buy it. I do think he ran well in the Belmont, but that's sort of an anomaly, that distance in that race. And, his other races, I just sort of feel like I can look at his Wood and his Holy Bull and sort of point out reasons why they're not as good as they look.
The number 9 is Term of Art, another one in here for Doug O'Neill. O'Neill and company have handled this horse from day one like he's a good horse.
I know.
The problem is he has not improved really at all, and I know from a buyer standpoint he's got a couple of big numbers in there, but he just hasn't gotten any better, and I've always felt like, boy, if you could run 4-mile races, he'd run all day for you. The problem is we don't do that here.
Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense that he runs in this race.
The number 10, Giuseppe the Great for Nick Zito. He's got a little bit of ability.
Yep.
I think that Zito has put him in ambitious positions, but Nick's known for doing that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I thought his Jim Dandy was just fine.
Yep.
His Travers, just kind of even. I didn't think there was a lot there.
Yeah, not a big excuse in that race either. I thought he got a really good ride from Tyler Gaffalione in there. Good horse, really cool horse, hard trying horse. Don't like him in this race.
Let's take a look at our picks for the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby. We're both going to Chad and Timeline. Down on the inside, You know, I think we both acknowledge that West Coast is strictly the horse to beat, but I think if anyone's going to do it, it's him. The question I have for you is, what kind of number do you think he actually is? Because I think he's going to get pounded.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I feel the same way about him you do, though. I'm not against West Coast in this race, but I think if he loses, then this is the horse that beats him. I've always liked him, and I have to give him one more chance. As far as price goes, I'm concerned that he goes too low. If he's 4-1 in this race, I'm betting him. If he comes down below 4-1, I'm going to have a tough time betting him.
I pegged him at 9-2. I don't think I'm going to get that. Mike goes 1-4-5. I go 1-4-5 in the Pennsylvania Derby. If you're playing the entire Pennsylvania Derby card from Parx, check out DRF Bets. We've got a new deal for you, up to a $300 sign-up bonus. DRF.com/fall. The promo code is fall300. The Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby on a day full of graded stakes races at Parx. Scheduled post time is 5:45 Eastern. Good luck.